2K, where all your happiness and joy goes to die and Ronnie runs off with the money. You know, this game was my first real-life lesson into how to actually manage my money a little bit better. I mean, I didn't do too well with that. But this franchise made my kiddish brain stop and go, hey, maybe I shouldn't give this game any more money. Now, I'll talk a little bit about 2K22, but this video is going to be mainly an overview on how 2K is as a whole. My thoughts on 2K22, though, are actually kind of positive. They changed the animations, shooting feels crisp, same with defense for the most part. All in all, it's a little too early to call it a good or bad 2K yet, but I'm actually kind of optimistic about this one. Especially compared to that one. But the problem is that no matter which 2K we're talking about, there are always going to be inevitable elements added in that makes the game far worse. And the first of these elements in every 2K is the pay-to-win mechanics. Holy fuck, where do I even begin with this? First, just a little quick disclaimer, I'm not even gonna fucking touch my team. That is just a fucking cesspool of awful pay-to-win mechanics. So after you buy your $60 2K game, now you have to drop at least $40 to $50 just so you can have a playable build. Before you can even play at any competitive level, you had to drop at least $90 to $100. That's fucking absurd. And my main problem with this is that I feel like the 2K community has been desensitized to all this. We fans of 2K can literally drop $50 on microtransactions and not even bat a goddamn eye. The two biggest counter arguments I hear is 1, the older games only cost around $20 to max out your build, and 2, just play My Career if you're not willing to pay for the microtransactions. Now let me start with the first one. Just because you could max out your build for a lesser price does not make it much better. It is still a pay-to-win mechanic that should not be in the game. Now to address the second counter argument, grinding My Career is not only tedious, boring, but also not reasonable. One of the recent builds I was looking at cost around 189,000 VC to max out. Let's say each game gets you 1,000 VC, and for me personally, I'm not even making that much with my other character. I'm only making around 800 VC. But let's say you're making 1,000. That means you have to play 189 games just so you can pay off your build. Let's say each game takes you around 20 minutes to play, because after recording, I found out that's how long it usually takes. 189 times 20 is 3,780 minutes. Now divide that by 60 because you want to convert that into hours, and you get 63 hours. That means you have to play 63 hours of My Career before you can even have your build ready for any type of competitive play. And that's not even considering the fact that you've probably unlocked all of your attributes by then, so it's going to cost you even more VC to max it out to 99. Either way, that is an unacceptable amount of time to put into the game just so you can actually play it competitively. This leads to my second point, My Career. This game mode is downright boring, tedious, and just painful to fucking play. The problem with My Career is that the majority of people that are playing this game mode are only playing this for the progression of their badges and attributes. Due to this, no one is playing My Career for the story, which is already bad enough on its own. This is why it feels tedious and frustrating, because they don't want to play the story. All they want to do is get through the progressions of their attributes and badges. And the only way to do that is to play this shitty game mode. In my opinion, there is a few solutions to this. 1, you can increase the XP gained after a park, pro, am, or rec game. Or 2, you can create a new game mode that will allow you to grind specific badges or attributes. Like a 3-point contest for your shooting badges, or a dunk contest for your finishing badges. And that's just stuff I came up with on the top of my head. You could add a lot more. What I'm trying to say here is that there should be an efficient way of grinding attributes and badges online, so you're not forced to play a game mode you don't like. And right now, Park is not even close to being efficient enough for badges and attributes. And while Pro, Am, and Rec are a little more comparable to My Career, it's still not as efficient as My Career because you can't specifically target badges in Pro, Am, and Rec like you can in My Career. Now the third element that hurts every 2K game, the animations. And this is one thing that really frustrates me about all sports games, the RNG animations. We've all seen videos of players getting bailed out in a Madden game just solely off animation and no skill. And while it's not as bad in 2K, and especially not in 2K22, it's still there and it's always going to be there. And when you have RNG in a game, it takes the skill out of the player's hands. when someone's guarding somebody else and they're doing fine up until they get a random ankle breaker animation that completely throws them off. I mean, just look at this clip. This guy was playing pretty solid defense, he's up in his grill, and then all of a sudden he's turning around like, just what the fuck? And now look at this video. He's getting no ankle breaker animations, but he's destroying this user. Now, I'm not advocating of taking ankle breakers out of the game, but I do think that the player should be skilled enough to create space between him and the defender, triggering that animation. And that's just one example of the part of a game that can be changed. The one slight problem to this is that since it is a sports game, it is naturally going to have random animations, which therefore takes the skill out of the player's hands at certain parts. This leads me to my final element that has plagued all of 2K games: flat out complacency. The sad reality on why sports games are feeling more and more generic is because these companies don't have to evolve. They have a monopoly on their respective field. No one's going to contest Madden on a football game, and no one's going to contest 2K on a basketball game. This is why Madden could get away with literally copying their Super Bowl celebration year after year. This is why 2K can get away with charging you a $50 fee just to play the game. These companies don't care either way because they know if you stop playing their game, you have nowhere else to turn to. It's not like you're going to be able to play another football game or another basketball game. And no, viewer, NBA Live does not exist. And even if it did, it doesn't matter because EA is far worse than 2K. As the old saying goes, a little competition will always bring the best out of you. And 2K simply just doesn't have any, so it doesn't need to innovate. It doesn't need to keep growing. This is why sports games in the early and mid 2000s were fun as hell, because there were a shit ton of them. They were all competing with each other. And now look at the sports games market today. It's fucking deserted. And while yes, 2K22 right now is decent and I'm pretty optimistic about it, it will never be truly an amazing game with all these elements I stated in the video holding it back. And I don't mean just a sports game, I mean an actual good game. Because in my opinion, we haven't had a good game from the sports genre since the 2000s. And that's largely due to the lack of competition and sadly, the rise of microtransactions. And yes, viewer, that includes 2K16. Even though that's the best game in the franchise, every problem that I stated in this video can also apply to 2K16. That just makes 2K16 the best 2K we can get with this broken formula. Honestly, if the next 2K had no pay-to-win mechanics and a really good progression system to get badges and attributes, I would consider that 2K the best 2K ever. But sadly, with this franchise, that is literally a fantasy. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing, and comment below what I should do next. I'll do movies, games, anime, shows, whatever. But again, thank you for watching.